What's going on, guys? Adam here with AmericanMuscle.com, and I'm bringing you my review of the Airaid Poweraid Throttle Body Spacer for all 11 to 16 GT Mustangs. This Airaid Poweraid Throttle Body Spacer for all 11 to 16 GT owners is a very affordable and an easy install part that'll give you a small bump in added power and also in throttle response for your Coyote-powered GT without having to purchase a whole new throttle body. To jump right into the function of the Airaid Poweraid Throttle Body Spacer, it's meant to provide added air support for the air going into the intake manifold. For those of you with a stock size throttle body who might be interested in this spacer, in all honesty, you don't want to expect crazy power gains that are going to knock significant time off your quarter mile. Airaid does let us know, however, that you can expect a little bit of power gains as far as low-end torque and low-end throttle response, somewhere between the 800 and 2500 RPM region. Now, I want to touch on what the Airaid Throttle Body Spacer is actually made of. This is where you get the idea of what it actually does. It's machined from high-quality aircraft-grade 6061 billet aluminum to resist corrosion and wear. It also comes in a red finish to give it some under-the-hood styling. Included in the kit is all the installation hardware that you need, so you can actually trash a lot of the old throttle body hardware that you have already. You'll notice that in the construction of the Airaid Poweraid Throttle Body Spacer, there's a very unique design in the center. This is the helix bore design, which is like threading, which acts as like a turbine, thrusting and rotating the air into the intake manifold. That's where you see the low-end power and a small bump in throttle response. One of the other things I should mention about this design is when it's installed, you can actually hear a whistle sound coming from the throttle body, which is the sound of the air passing through the helix bore design. Airaid also tells us that this helps maximize fuel efficiency, which can actually save you money at the pump in the long run. Now, this is another one of those cases where you don't want to expect crazy miles per gallon gains, but what you can expect is a superior atomized mixture of air to fuel ratio all the way to your combustion chamber. This in turn will help you save a little bit of money at the fuel pump. You'll notice that this throttle body spacer is not the only one that's out there. However, aside from the red anodized finish, this is the only throttle body spacer that we offer on our site that has a CARB EO number, which basically means it's 50 state legal. That's beneficial for you guys out there in strict emission states like California. As far as the materials go, you'll notice that this Airaid throttle body spacer comes in at the thickest of the site, which is about 1 inch thick, whereas the other ones come in at about 3/4 of an inch thick. That a little bit of extra thickness allows for more threading, which allows the air to go faster through the intake manifold. Price-wise, you'll also notice that this is a little bit more expensive than the other options on the site, but not by much, coming in at the $130 mark. Installation for this spacer is extremely straightforward. You can get it done start to finish in just about an hour with an 8mm, 10mm socket, flathead screwdriver, and at least a 3-inch extension for your ratchet. Installation for the Airaid throttle body spacer is going to be about the same for the 11 to 14 and 15-16 Mustangs. You're going to start with taking off the intake manifold cover, disconnecting the cold air intake and the 3 tubes that connect to the cold air intake, which might actually require the use of pliers. When you're removing the throttle body, you'll have to loosen the clamp on the coupler holding it to the cold air intake. Once that's off, you can use a 10mm and the 3-inch extender ratchet to remove the 4 bolts that are holding the throttle body in place. Once you get those off, take the throttle body out and place it to the side and discard the rest of those bolts because the throttle body spacer comes with replacement hardware. Once you have the throttle body off, for the installation of the new spacer, you'll put the washers over the bolts through the throttle body, the gasket over the bolts, and then the spacer over the gasket, in that order. After making sure everything's lined up properly with the manifold, you'll want to tighten the 4 bolts with your fingers and then the 10mm socket. Remember to make sure all the plugs and tubes are back on the cold air intake when you're reconnecting that, and then you want to place the manifold cover back in place, reconnect the negative terminal on the battery, and you're good to go. With all said and done, you're looking at about 1 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty scale, making it an extremely simple installation for anybody in their driveway. Now, I'll be the first to admit you don't want to expect crazy gains in the way of horsepower and torque, but according to Airaid, you can definitely see some gains in throttle response and even fuel efficiency. If this sounds like something you'd be interested in, you can pick yours up right here at AmericanMuscle.com.